Tuning you in now to the LBX Show with your host, Brandon Wiley. Brought to you by the LBX Collective, your community to connect, engage, and inspire.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to the LBX Show. This is Brandon Wiley. I'm your host, and this is number 21 for March 23rd, 2025. We have a great show lined up for you today. We've got guest Gab, and what we're going to be doing is getting a group of us together, talking through Amusement Expo, all the great things we had going on there. We got promo pro tips with Chuck DeMonte, and then he's going to be talking about the importance of capturing first-party data. And then wrapping with an open and shut with Kevin Williams, we're going to be hopping on together and we're going to discuss actually the top 10 trending openings. But before we get started with that, we're going to do a little bit of news you should know. All right. So first thing we've got coming up here is IAAPA is doing research, and the 2025 Global Benchmark Survey is still here. You still can, we've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks, but you still can take that survey. The more people that take the survey, the better. Scan the QR code if you're watching it, and then just take some time. It should take about 10 to 20 minutes max, really, to fill this thing out. Might even take less than that. I don't know, but it is worth it for the data that we could have for our industry. So if you are listening, you can go to IAAPA.org or just Google IAAPA Global Benchmark Survey, and it will take you right to the link. All right, that's what we got for that. And then we've got the LBX Academy coming up. So we are going to be talking about group sales and growing your revenue through group sales. That includes birthday parties, that includes corporate events, that includes anything that is a group, and how to improve and grow your revenue from those through operations, but also through sales. And there are very different ways that you grow that group revenue for corporate events versus birthday parties, etc. So we're going to be digging into that, growing your revenue with group events at the LBX Academy. This is April 14th to the 16th. So it's coming up in just a few weeks at Andretti Karting, the Colony in Dallas. Excited. We've got a great faculty. We've got Clint Novak, who's going to be a part of it. Kyle Stremme, who's a sales leader. And then Beth Standlee, really excited to have her join as well. She'll be walking us through a lot of stuff on the, a couple of the days. So anyway, that is, I think that is it. I think that wraps up news you should know. All right, well, hello, everybody. This is Brandon Wiley from the LBX Collective. I am on the show floor of Amusement Expo 2025 in Las Vegas at the Las Vegas Convention Center, and I'm excited to sit down or stand up and talk with Chris from Intercard about one of their new readers they have here. So flip the camera around here. Chris, tell me a little bit about what we've got going on here.
Hey, Brandon. Chris Barker with Intercard, East Coast sales rep. So we are featuring our new Impulse Reader here. Our Impulse Reader accepts both gain cards from our Intercard tellers as well as credit card payments. So it's a great addition to locations with small footprints, 10, 15, 20 pieces with no redemption that you need to put on the cranes and or video pieces. Allows for seamless payments, impulse payments is really what we target. So as the guests are leaving, if you have a photo booth and they say, hey, I have no more money left on my card, pull out your credit card and pull out your phone and pay for that unit right there. So very, very robust unit, very solid, similar to our other readers as well. Customizable display. You can put the different images on there as well. It does feature the different credit cards that are accepted. We partner with multiple different payment processors to allow seamless payments on that reader.
Yeah, that is awesome. That is awesome. So, and it's one of the ones that we can also read QR codes as well.
Correct. Yeah, we have a QR code reader as well. That goes along with our IQ system. That eliminates the use of need for cards. You can go towards a wristband with an RFI or a QR code or a QR code slip. We also have a phone text option to allow for the QR code to be sent to your mobile device.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Now, if I already have an Intercard system, maybe I've used one of your i3 readers or something in the past, and I'm used to the swipe and maybe the tap. What am I able to then upgrade to the
Correct.
Impulse? How does that work?
Yeah, our readers are interchangeable, so you can have a location where you can have, say, 4 or 5 of these Impulse readers. You can have some IQ readers. You can have some tap readers, some magstripe readers. So they are completely interchangeable within the system.
Okay, so for example, let's say I don't want to go through and change out all of my arcade machines and my redemption machines from one of your other readers, but I'm able to maybe, like you mentioned, photo booth. I can swap out and put the impulse on the photo booth, so allow for that impulse purchase from a credit card.
Yeah, we definitely like the impulse reader on high impact games or attractions. You know, if you're dealing with a roller coaster and you have a payment system, as the guests approach the turnstile, oh, I don't have a card. Sure, you can pay with your credit card right at this terminal.
Yeah, I like that, right? So like if I'm using even like an immersive enclosure like Cubics or Valo Arena or something like that, where, you know, it's unattended and I maybe don't have some of my game card and the game card kiosk is far away, I can just quickly pull out a credit card as a parent
and
make that
true impulse payment. The other nice thing is the reporting is all done through the same platform, so you'll be able to recognize your credit card payment as well as your game card payments as well through the same platform. That way you're not bouncing back and forth between different platforms.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, well, thank you so much for your time, Chris. Appreciate
the show. Thanks, Brandon. Thank you.
All right, well, I don't know where I went. You can hear me though, so that's good. All right, so that was, thanks so much for Chris for sitting down with me and telling me a little bit about the Impulse Reader from Intercard. Intercard is one of our great sponsors, so thank you so much for your support, Intercard. All right, I'm excited for this guest gab episode, and we had a great, we have a great conversation here with Beth Standlee from Trainertainment and now the Growth Group, and so we also have Kevin Williams from the Singer Report and also the LBX Collective and the Sound Off with Kevin Williams. As many of you who listen and watch the show already know Kevin, and then we also have Adam Pratt as well joining us. So it's a great conversation. So let's dive in. All right. Well, welcome everybody. This is you know, good to have you all on. We don't get a chance to all be on very often. It seems like just when we have shows. So and Beth, you know, it's great to have you joining us as well.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we're going to be talking about the Amusement Expo 2025, and you know, let's start with going around. You know, how did everybody feel like it went? I feel like it was a pretty good vibe this year. But you know, Beth, what were your thoughts?
Well, I loved it. You know, it was a very exciting dual-rolled event for me. It was my first year as president of AAMA, so I had a lot of opportunity and felt like obligation on the floor to make sure that I was out there talking to members. And to a person, folks felt energized. They were excited. They felt like we had more traffic on day 2 than we normally have. You know, I think you can have a trade show in the last day of any trade show, whether it's a 2-day or a 4-day, that last day we're usually all talking to each other, and there were still plenty of buyers on the floor, and it was quite refreshing. I thought it was very exciting. We had a wonderful keynote that was very different. Had really stuck my neck out there about helping cultivate the power of Dana Monique. And so we had a very inspiring luncheon. I thought education was better than the year before and was better than the year before that. We just continue to elevate. We all were paying attention to what was working, what we could have done better. We're hyper focused, guys, on just making this event be a must attend event, and that takes a lot of work. You know, there's a lot of work done up to it. There's a lot of work at the show, and there's a lot of, I can't even tell you how many meetings planned next week to make sure that we debrief in the moment. The give a darn about what we're doing in this space is higher than I've ever seen it. And I've been around a long time. So I thought it was very exciting.
That's awesome. Well, I think it is a testament to you and your leadership as well, and just the energy and the new perspective. You know, I know we were talking before, and Kevin, he's on mute right now. He's actually on the road, but I'll use his phrase that he used. You're an inclusive person, and I think you brought a lot of people along, and you're trying new things, and that's what, you know, in industry that's been around for, you know, 75 years plus, depending on how you think about the industry. And so it's great to have that fresh perspective on everything. And I would agree. The second day was definitely busier than a second day at Amusement Expo has been, at least in the last 5 years.
Sure.
And you're from talking with the different vendors that were there, they did feel like while the attendance was maybe down, the buying conversations were higher. And we can talk about the attendance and what that actually means, but at the end of the day, it's about buyers and getting buyers there and having buying conversations more than just people who are you get a whole bunch of people that are just kicking tires, and that doesn't do any good either.
That's hard, because you want to focus and spend that limited time that you've got with people who can make a decision about buying the next thing. I'm not convinced that the less buyer attendance, and let's be clear, we had the biggest trade show, most floor space, most number of vendors, most number of vendors buying the most number of booths that we've ever had since the inception of the show. And so there was a lot of confidence, I think, on the seller side that the show would be a very good show. And I believe at least the folks I talked to feel like they got that. The attendee side was maybe 8% light. I think that's
300 less people.
8% less. But I don't know. I've requested information about what were the entities represented, because if a buyer brings 10 people from their organization, that's a reflection of one entity. And I want to know, did we have more entities there? Because I certainly talked to people that I did not know, we'd never met, hadn't seen them at events before. We had a couple of neat opportunities that we're going to close. We've been talking to at past events and stuff like that. So I think that'll be an interesting number. So.
Yeah. Adam.
Well, thank you, Beth, very, very much for making the time available. Obviously, my perspective is from a remote observation of the show from the social media as well as the trade feedback. And I can attest that it's a very positive mix, especially seeing such a large number of new amusement machines on the floor. And I think Adam can give us more detail on that.
Yeah. Adam, you want to give some of your thoughts from the floor? You were all, we crossed paths a few times. You were all over that floor.
Yeah. It was a little weird because there's a few people that, I normally saw, and I just through texting, it's like, are you at the show? And it's like, I haven't seen you, but it's like, yeah. I've been around and like you and I, Brandon, we did run into each other. I guess more times than you usually run into people that but it was a lot of fun. And to reiterate what both Beth and yourself had said was that, I was surprised by day 2, because I remember telling somebody it was her first show that she'd ever done. And I was like, well, just so you know, she was like, oh yeah, I'm so tired after day 1. It's like, well, don't worry, tomorrow will be light and everything. And then it's like, well, I was completely wrong about that. And and I was also assuming that just because I'd talked to some people, it was like, oh yeah, we're only here for today and everything. But there was plenty of people who I guess just showed up yesterday, and that's what they were planning. Maybe it's because they were thinking, well, it'll be slower, so I'll go just on day 2 instead of day 1. But then that just bolstered it. But I've been attending Amusement Expo since 2007, and in my opinion, this had the most new content that I had seen, at least from an arcade perspective. And it was really refreshing, and it was good because I always attend IAAPA as well. And so anybody who attends both of those, it often feels like Amusement Expo is just kind of like a follow-up call, where it's like, oh, I've already seen all this stuff and everything. And while that still remains true to a degree, it's like there are a lot of updates, but then a lot of new things that had been held back in the chamber by the manufacturers. And that's good to create excitement, but also just to see what is going to shape the industry going into the summertime.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a surprising number of new, like brand new, were not at IAAPA 5 months ago, and they were there today. I mean, it was pretty remarkable to see that. And again, that drives energy, right? It drives energy, it drives excitement, it drives foot traffic. People want to go and try those things.
Yeah.
So maybe we can hop in. I mean, we can dive into some of those. Adam, what did you see? I mean, for me, you've been going since 2007. This is the industry, and you follow these things very well. So sometimes I'll see something, I'll think, oh, that's new or that's unique, but it's been out for 2 years. So I know that for me, I saw a number of things. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's fresh. But for you, what did you actually see on the floor that was, okay, this is new, and this is worth checking out?
Yeah. So there was quite a few things that it showed up as mentioned. And so just making sure that let me see if I can share the imagery on this there. But of course, when you came into the show floor, some of the setup was similar to what you would often see with an amusement expo, such as Bandai Namco being right there up front and showing off their products. I guess out of what they had, they probably had the least amount of brand new products that you hadn't seen before, as theirs felt closer to what their IAAPA setup was. But even then, they still had what's called Gashapon right up front. And let me see if I can share that with you all there.
While you're working on sharing that, I've got. I thought one of the, we could talk a little bit, and I know you're intimately familiar with these guys, but Allen One had their new Soda Slam out, and so I've got a picture here of that, and and so I just thought the Soda Slam is basically a variant on, well, we can say it's a variant on the Slush Rush, but
it's a little weirder than that. So really quick. Yeah. So there was an indie game developed by a guy in Iowa called Perfect Pour. He was testing it out for the past almost 2 years. Somebody at Baytech saw that while it was testing and realized that it was a very fun, good classic style concept and created what became Icy Slush Rush. And now Soda Slam is essentially an answer to Slush Rush, but Soda Slam is Perfect Pour, but it's been enhanced for family entertainment centers. It has 2 players now, but it's essentially the same game, but like an enhanced version of Perfect Pour. So it's kind of funny how that back and forth went there like that. But very good cabinet presentation, very colorful. Especially with the LED tubes, that's something you have to see in person, because when, for those just listening, how it works is it's kind of like the old Tapper by Midway, but it's more simple. It's a simpler concept, and you have customers arriving at the tap. They put their glass there. You pull the joystick tap handle down. It fills up the cup, and then you have to not spill and you have to not underfill it. And then you just have lots of customers arriving in a line, and you're just going at it. But when you pull back on the tap, there's an LED tube that fluctuates, and it makes it look like there's liquid going through the tube, which is a cool little thing to do.
Yeah, the visual representation is really cool, and I felt like the action on the actual soda handle was the lever was really good compared to Slush Rush, where I feel like you really have to pull the thing down and up. And this was just nice because I could just with my fingers, I could be moving back and forth, and I felt like I get a better accurate pour, and it was I could move a lot faster as well. So I did like that. I think the one thing that was with the cabinet, and I gave this feedback to them as well. Is that the big soda cans on the sides are like, they're cool if it's a standalone item, but if you're gonna have a bunch of other machines next to it, it doesn't work. And so you would need to be able to have a cabinet that you could have, basically get without the soda cans.
Right. It should be available as an add-on option as opposed to just like that's the model sort of thing. And so, I agree with that on the presentation. I guess also one thing to note, if anybody that's watching this played Soda Slam on day one, there was a little bit of latency, and that was caused by the monitor. They actually corrected that. So on day two, it was just smooth. It was perfectly.
Oh, that's awesome. I know they mentioned they were thinking about doing that. I didn't get a chance to go back and try it. I'm glad it worked out for me.
Yeah. So like I got to play it both days, and like it played much better. It was more fun and easier to play on day two because of that issue. But again, it was just something with the game mode on the TV, but it was something where you couldn't just hit a button to do it. It was a little strange, but they figured it out and everything so that it wouldn't be an issue there. But that was one of the fun things. And I guess unfortunately for them, they were kind of way back in the show floor space. They weren't by the other arcades, so you had to go exploring for them. Which some people do, but it's always unfortunate to me when I hear people that are like, "Oh, I just go to the things up front and that's it." And I don't.
Well, yeah, and I think part of the problem where they were, and Blue Motion Games, right? So like the two indie game developers, they were on the same row, but opposite ends of the row. So Blue Motion was on the other side, but they were behind the Great Wall of Billiards, and so. Basically like, if you looked down and you got to the billiard section and then you got to the gaming section, right? So like all the casino gaming stuff, you kind of thought that, oh, that's what all the rest of this stuff is. And you may not have gone and walked through and found them. So hopefully they will advocate them to for themselves to be up by the rest of the arcades. All right.
That's one of those things we were telling them.
One of the things I used to like at the older shows was that we put the new releases and the first time exhibitors in a certain area that forced individuals to go to at least walk past the new boys and the new blood and put the established people at the back, encouraging people down. Just a quick question for you, Adam. Which company came first with the idea of the pouring concept? Because it's interesting to see root beer tapper being back as a popular concept.
Right. So technically it'd be a company called DSM Arcade. He's an indie developer. It's only like 2 or 3 guys. But they got together with Alan One after IAAPA to do the Soda Slam. So, Perfect Pour is the name of the game. It's available already. So that's another thing too. Like technically, as far as production goes, it's already out there before Icy Slush Rush or Soda Slam.
But Kevin, if I know you can't see. I don't know if you can see the screen, but I just in the Alan
One. Yes, I can. Yes.
No, I don't. This wasn't in the Alan One booth. I'm sorry. This was actually at. We went to Spy Ninjas on one of the
Spy Ninjas classic arcade location. Yes, I took a picture of the same place.
They actually have a tapper there at the an old Budweiser tapper game. So if you want to talk about maybe the very first tap fill game, that's probably pushing it up there.
Yeah, exactly. And then as I was mentioning up front, you had the arrival of Gashapon to the show, which is very interesting. And that also ties in with the bulk vending area, but this is one of those things that wasn't in the same area, but it was right there at the front entrance, so you couldn't miss it, unless I guess you were just looking at your phone. But if you don't know what Gashapon is, it's essentially Japanese bulk vending. But what they do is they offer prizes or toys that are far higher quality than what you tend to find in bulk vending. And so things like that they sell there are like actual Gundam models, like real high quality stuff. And that's why the cost on those things will not be under $1. They'll usually be $2 to $5, sometimes even more. And they have a special token that you have to buy. But this had been tested in a limited way out in the US, but now it's available for any operator to get. And with the growing interest in Japanese culture that's come across the United States, I mean, this is a fantastic way to tap into that. And that's what Round One USA already does. But now it's for all that I've heard so many operators over the years, it's like, gosh, Round One USA, it's making it tough for my business. But it's like now you can have access to little things like that, or like Bandai Namco has Taika no Tatsujin, and then Sega had the new My DX game, rhythm game as well. These are all these big Japanese gaming culture things that now other operators are finally getting access to.
Yeah,
So, but it's not just. So I was just going to say, but it isn't just the Japanese trending aspect that's making these genres popular. It's also popularity with the particular audience. I think it's important to understand that the music games that we saw on the show floor, not forgetting our friends from Andamiro with their music games, are now finding extreme popularity, but they're not being sold through the distribution section. They're being sold direct to the operator.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to circle back to the comment you made, Kevin, about having a space for some of the newer operators or something like that, or not newer operators, the newer developers, like the indie game developers or whatever, bringing them closer to the other arcade. Beth, how is it set up? How are the different, I know you get to pick your preferred location, but that obviously doesn't always happen. I know that for Amusement Expo, there's an entire committee that does space allocation and is focused on that. How does that process work for Amusement Expo? I've actually never really known that.
Yeah, so I was not on the show committee until after September, and so I don't exactly have the 411 on space allocation. I do know that there are first-time pavilions. I was trying to grab the app to see how the app may have laid it out, and really all I can see here is an interactive floor plan, but that's certainly
if you go onto the webpage, Beth, they do actually split the categories of first time, new, and established. The app is a little bit too concentrated. I'm sorry, please.
Yeah, no, thank you, Kevin. That was my memory as well, is that there would be a new vendor pavilion. I'm not sure, and I do not do a good job just from a time perspective moving around the floor to know enough about that. Now I'm mad at myself for not having done that, because that would be a great thing to know. I'll certainly work with Brian Glasgow and try to better understand that. What I do know is that because we're moving to the West Hall, as we tried to go ahead and reserve space, that option wasn't available yet. So the layout isn't for next year completely laid out yet. And so I'll better understand how that work gets done. What I can tell you is Glasgow does, I can't even imagine the amount of work and hours and time that goes into juggling those logistics. But that's a great idea. I made an immediate note when you said, Brandon, about the Great Wall of Billiards, that people didn't get the feel that once you got past that space, hey, there's still more for me beyond here. And I think that's super, super important. And I actually made that note, and I would be really interested in any other feedback of that kind so that I can go and help.
So we have some comments from attendees that are turning up in the forums now, as well as the information that was supplied by our sources during the event. The carpet change for the billiards area, as well as for the bulk vending areas. The Great Wall of Billiards, as we've seemed to have labeled it, is imposing, but at least the main Broadway allows people to see the full stretch of the show. But I think if we can do something to help the new startups, if you want, Beth, we would be glad to try and do maybe a first day walk around with people that are interested and go to the new releases, very similar to how our friends at IALPA do the walk around for visitors to the event.
That's awesome, because we do signify on badges that people are first-time attendees and stuff like that. But kind of once things get going, it's really tough to be that focused and understand so that you can address them in that way. So I think that's a great idea, Kevin. I definitely captured that. That would be a neat benefit and could even be its own educational section. I do know there's some challenges because of you couldn't really take them before the show floor opened because people are still building and pulling it up, but maybe a sneak peek, first time attendees only, got to be there. I love that idea. That's great.
Yeah, they get to slip in at 9 instead of 10, and then do the whole ribbon cutting and everything else that they do at 10 o'clock, but they get a little bit of a sneak peek and then come back out.
I just love that, guys. That's a great idea.
So one of the things I was thinking we could do is, why don't we talk about the most underwhelming piece, or the most underwhelming thing we saw, and then also the most I don't want to say overwhelming, but like the thing that you were really excited about, and also the thing that you were maybe excited to see and then was like disappointed in ultimately when you saw it. So why don't we go around? And I know, Kevin, you weren't there, but you have your sources, and I'm sure you heard stuff as well. But Adam, why don't we start with yours for the most underwhelming? Because we'll end on a positive note, right? So let's start with the most underwhelming elements that you saw, or the most underwhelming specific one. We'll pick one.
Oh, geez, darn.
Or if you want, I can go while you think about it.
Yeah, you go, because I'm trying to, and I don't know.
So for me, I was really excited to see the Cyberpunk Turf Wars, and I was completely underwhelmed by the piece, by the experience, by the gameplay, by pretty much all of it. Frankly, I mean the branding on the outside, all that was really good. I love the cabinet design, and so like I will say, like, that was good. But even like it was a little bit weird to have the camera like split on the screen above, and what it was showing was, it wasn't the people playing, it was like the people behind, which didn't make any sense. You're just looking at yourself if you were a spectator. So I'll shift over. I think I've got a picture of that. Oh, that was, let's see here. So I can picture of the TV, but above, like, you actually have, it's pointing on you versus pointing on the players.
On the picture I have on my viewer, you can see.
Okay,
all right, it shows the whole monitor.
Yeah, all right. I got to pull mine off first and throw yours on. Yeah, here we go. Maybe you can zoom in, but yeah, you've got the monitor there. Anyway, I thought there was some innovative things with like the multi-layered screen, but the gameplay itself was underwhelming, and just the size of the cabinet for what it is. It's so deep. It will take up so much space on the floor. So anyway, this was the one for me that I was like really excited to play and to see, and then was like, all right, yeah, I played it once, I'm done. I don't need to do it again.
Yeah, and that one, it's where I guess what I'm thinking is I see a lot of potential there, where with the right polish, it can become something even better. As far as shooting galleries go, I think it's one of the best I've ever played, but that's not saying much, because shooting galleries usually aren't that much. They're just like what you said, you play them once and kind of forget about it at a theme park. But at least this has the potential to add a lot of randomization there. It's just, that's one of the things, like you mentioned, that surprised me, is that the game that this is based on is an expansive universe. It has a ton of things going on for it, and all these missions and characters, and it doesn't really employ any of that stuff. And so it's like, if they could dial that in, then and add those elements to it and everything, then that would work. But I've already seen from the videos that I've posted of this onto YouTube, there's a lot of very dedicated fans to this, and they're having very similar reactions, where they're saying it looks boring, it looks underwhelming, and all that. And so, I think they've got a little bit of work cut out for them to make this 100%, especially because it does have a very strong fan base to it. Yeah,
there's a lot of potential with the IP, so hopefully they're able to improve on that. All right. So Kevin, well, what were you hearing as far as, some of the thing, maybe one of the things that didn't quite hit the mark?
So for me, Punk's situation.
Oh, we lost you. All right, we're gonna punt over to Beth. I know you didn't get a chance to play everything, but what was if you have an opinion at all? Maybe you don't, or maybe you saw something that you really liked, and it doesn't have to be a machine. It doesn't have to be an arcade game either. I mean, it could be something for the entire experience.
Yeah. Yes, for me, Brandon, the thing that I'm going to be focused against, because I don't have the time to, or even the expertise to know one game from the next. That probably sounds terrible from the president of the Machine Association, but what I'm interested in is the experience. It's what I've been interested in for 20 plus years, and I'm going to be looking at the education piece of it. I can't even think of a session that I was underwhelmed by from the sessions that I attended. I will say this: the laser tag sessions were not as well attended as we would have wanted, and they do have a footprint, and they've always had a footprint in the show. And of course, there's been a major shift in leadership, and so they've been a little bit in our space with us trying to help them make a better home. And I do think that we've made some headway in the last 2 years, and we'll have a much better plan for next year. But I don't know that we did a good job of messaging and communicating the fact that the laser tag has a home in this space, and that they have education sessions available. So I guess from an underwhelmed perspective, that piece could have been done a lot better. We have a lot of opportunity there, and we need to message and take better care of that community, because they're part of this overall community.
Yeah. And I would add to that really quick. I didn't even know there was anything laser tag until yesterday, almost at the end of the show, when I accidentally stumbled across the booth, because I was thinking about that the whole time. I was like, I thought there used to be a lot of laser tag. What happened to them?
Yeah, and they were there, right? I mean, so obviously Laser Blast, you had Zone, you had Laser Force, and you had Strike, and I mean, so like the operators were there, but they also had smaller booths than they would typically, right? So they had 10x10s and 10x20s. Laser Force had a big one because they had the Pixel floor that they also, Pixel games that they're a reseller for. So actually, maybe let's because I know we are running tight on time for a couple of us here. So let's skip over to the one thing that you really liked the most from what you had a chance to see.
Can I go first?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So of course I can't do one thing. There's Kevin in the flesh. I love it. I love me some Kevin. I was really excited by the education piece, and in particular the bold initiative that we took with the keynote, and the keynotes at lunch, and we did an apps. I mean, this band and this rock star, Dana Monique, was a finalist on The Voice. One of her backup singers also was a finalist on The Voice. And the care and commitment that she gave our organization to put together really it wasn't us sitting there getting preached at, right? She, her message, she themed it around powering up. She used our words. She did she did her homework. She's an entrepreneur making her way in the world. And her message of the thing that lands on her so much is that the richest place in the world is a cemetery, because that's where dreams had gone to die, and that she didn't want to do that, and that her dream of being on that stage and making music and touching people's lives was important to her. And arguably that's what we're all doing too. And just from an inspiration point of view, it was incredible. And of course, then all the dancing, I did think I was disappointed. Kevin, you won't believe this. A room full of men like crazy, and me, the most eligible bachelorette in the room, had a hard time getting anybody to get up and dance with me. I know if you'd have been there, surely you would have danced with me.
It would have been my honor if I had.
That was extremely exciting. We had a great AI session. Luke Adams and Jennifer did a wonderful job, and Luke was extremely generous in showing us literally with his company and his business what he was doing so people could see it. I'm real proud of Denise Killian, who did a wonderful session with Brandon from Raw Thrills on hiring and keeping the right people, because people are what make up our businesses. Our round tables, we got rave reviews on. I was very excited. Of course, I've been focused on education at this show since 2021, and I'm very pleased with it. Pete does an amazing job when they do the Hall of Fame and AAMA does their awards. He spends countless hours crafting just the right speech to honor those recipients, and that job was done just beautifully. Yeah, I was proud. I'm proud of our team. I was proud of the education. We had I can't remember the number. I had it here in front of me, but I think well over 400 and what was the number, Brandon? 490 some odd people signed up for education.
Oh, for the education, yeah, yep. It was just under 500 for all the different education components.
What was it last year?
It was pretty somewhere close to 400, Adam.
Yeah. So it was an increase in the education participation for sure.
It was a significant.
We are definitely an industry that is wanting to learn, which is a great thing.
Yeah.
You know, when we think about member value and sustainable member value, networkability and education is right at the top. Foundations did a great job. They had 115 folks. 478 registrants is what we had officially. There is a number, and
so we know that the VR Summit had 199 members, according to Glasgow's numbers.
Yep,
yes, unique scans, and that was down. You know, Bob said that was significantly down from prior year, and so that's an interesting understanding. But they literally drew people from around the world too, which was fascinating. So
the numbers are always a difficult metric to use, because the trite phrase "quality over quantity" is essential, especially when we're talking about education and sales. And I can tell you that the number of the sales executives that are foot sore and liver sore that have been sending me emails to tell me what I was missing have pointed out that the quality of leads at the show was one of those surprising points, which is what the whole point of why we're having the event in the first place.
Yeah, that's right. And I would say on the seller side, that's 1,000% true. And on the buyer side, the fact that they got the access to all those great things that we're talking about, and that they saw the value of being at education, being at that luncheon, coming to the gala. The gala had more energy. The reception had more energy and more people. The food was good. The
music was great. The St. Patty's, basically the Irish band that was playing, that was great. So
the reason it was so popular, I wasn't hogging the bar.
And
there's a lot more gin for other
Yeah, there was more gin left, and then I would say that my Patty's Day dress, my dress was pretty spectacular.
I did hear. I did
pictures.
not get a chance to see it, but I did hear that it was excellent.
It was pretty. Oh, I'm sorry, that was Monday, but that was a pretty
was Monday.
Yeah, it was Monday.
All right, so I do want to hear, Adam. What was your top piece or top thing that you saw or experienced there?
Top piece would probably be Top Gun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the moment that I first saw that game on test, it's like, that's going to be a big hit. I mean, it'd be difficult for them to not get that right. And now, I mean, there was a couple of minor things that I can nitpick about, and I talked to George Petro about this, just on helping identify what to shoot and whatnot. And that was some feedback I'd heard from some other people.
Yeah, it was not clear exactly what you basically just try to shoot everything.
Right. And like the first person I filmed playing the game wasn't even shooting. Like somebody noticed that and had to go and tell him, it's like, hey, pull the trigger to shoot. And so he's a little confused. And like when I played, it's like I already had an idea of what I was going to do, but there was still like elements where enemy planes would fly in with you as opposed to towards you, and so that kind of threw me off because it's like, wait, are those my guys? Am I supposed to shoot
totally
them? I don't know.
Yep.
But despite those minor things, like it controlled well. I think it looks great. It's very smooth and it's just fun to blow stuff up. It has the danger zone music, so it's doing everything there to pull you into that experience and be immersive for it. And it's like, I can easily see where this is going to be a big hit anywhere where it's placed.
Yeah. It was great.
May I interject one quick observation? What I love about this industry and this space is, Adam, you literally just said, well, I talked to George Petro. I mean, my God, this George won. George got put in the Hall of Fame, and he's the brilliant mind, right, behind the production. And where do you get to say, I got to rub elbows with George Petro and give him my feedback? Yeah. And he's really interested in that feedback. Like,
that's a great example, Beth. This is the only entertainment industry that I work in where you can actually rub shoulders with both the people who do the games, the people who create the games, the people who fund the games, the people who operate. It is an important part of our industry, which is ignored by a lot of people. We touch all aspects of it.
We do. Well, that's my joy about being the president of this ecosystem, because we have, my organization has, oh, look at the ownership there. The AAMA has the manufacturers, the distributors, the suppliers, the professional services, and the end user buyer. And we're all focused on serving those players, those people that are going to come create memories and experiences with each other at our location. So anyway, it thrilled me, Adam, when you said that. I was like, oh, wait, does everybody know who George Petro is? He got put in the Hall of Fame. He's the guy that makes this stuff. You talk about it so casually, and it's not a casual thing. It's a big damn deal.
I guess it's because I'm used to it now. But I remember the first time that I went to Amusement Expo, and somebody at Rothfield said, "Hey, Eugene Jarvis wants to talk to you." I was, I was fangirling about it because why would anybody with a name that's done all these amazing things in this business want to talk to me? Of all people, and so but
he ain't over yet. He's still knocking them out the park. That's a great thing.
Oh yeah. And I filmed him playing a game, and that was another thing I was going to add, is that on top of all that is the people who make these games, they actually enjoy it. They do. And so that's where it's like they understand the business because they have fun doing it. It's not just a paycheck for them. And so that's another thing I also love about the business too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I feel like that's actually a great way to wrap up the conversation for Amusement Expo. I'm sure over the course of the next couple of weeks, little tidbits will slip into different segments of our shows and sound off, and we'll have an arcade corner that Adam will cover probably a lot more of the stuff that he saw on the show as well. At least that's what I hope. So I know we'll get more tidbits out of Amusement Expo, but we'll go ahead and wrap up our guest gab for this round. And guys, thank you so much for popping on. Adam, Beth, it was great to see you both. Always great to get a hug from you, Beth. I absolutely love it and look forward to it every time I see you. So, and Kevin, I would have had a hug from you too, I guess, if you had, but next time we'll see each other
Virtual
soon.
hug.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, guys, it was great having you on here. Thanks so much. And we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for having us.
Bye-bye.
If you run a location-based entertainment brand and want to attract more visitors, check out Radius. They use real-time location data and customized marketing strategies to help brands like yours stand out. Radius can boost your foot traffic and build a loyal customer base. Plus, they're offering a complimentary local market analysis to show you exactly how they can help you grow. Curious? Visit radius.co and ask about your free market analysis. That's RAYDIUS.co.
All right. Well, that was awesome. So I enjoyed listening to it again. So even though it was already pre-recorded, but that was excellent. And next we have promo pro tips with Chuck DeMonte, and we'll get that rolling right now.
Hello and welcome to Promo Pro Tips with Chuck DeMonte. That is me. And today I want to give you the top 6 ways for you to get repeat customers. Now, I'm sure many of you heard in business, a repeat customer is easier to get than a new customer, and that is true, right? It's always going to be easier, more cost-effective to get a repeat customer than a new customer, and you're going to make more value on them. A lot of times, new customer acquisition it's costly, and then every time you get somebody to come back, you're looking at profit, right? So how do you get repeat customers? The most successful thing in entertainment centers have a good repeat customer rate, okay? So the way to start this, the first thing that comes to mind for me is make sure you're capturing their data. So what does that mean? Really just email and phone number, right? Any of the data points you can get in them is great, but email and phone number. If you have an address, great. You could send them, EDDM and postcards, right? But that's not necessarily one of the things I'm thinking of for retargeting, but the top one that I'm thinking of is email, right? So if you're getting their email as a customer, you need to stay top of mind. That is the name of the game. That's the way you're going to get them to come back, right? So top of mind marketing, how do you do that? You stay in front of them with marketing messages. So if you have their email, great. Now you're setting up an email, you're sending weekly emails, you're, whatever that cadence looks like for you, make sure you're sending out those emails and staying in front of your existing customers that have come to your location already. It's the easiest way to get people back, right? Or people in your location. Second is SMS. If you get their email, get their phone number, right? Now they're getting an email from you and they're getting an SMS from you, right? The more ways you could stay in front of them, the more sort of marketing channels you have, the more higher likelihood of you sort of getting in front of them at some point during their day, their life. Everybody has busy lives, right? We have a million things hitting us all at once. Stay in front of them, okay? So those are the top 2 things, email, SMS. Now, if you have their data, another cool thing you could do is upload that data into platforms like Google and Meta and retarget them, right? That's the third thing. That is amazing, right? I'm sure you've all experienced it. You look something up and then you're being followed around the internet with banners and social media posts and all this other stuff, right? That's retargeting, okay? You could also put a pixel on your website and now retarget them. So if somebody was a customer, most likely they visited your website to see what time you're open, your location, wherever you've been. So high likelihood that most of your customers have visited your website before, right? So if you have a pixel on their website, you could retarget them, okay? If you have your data, you could retarget them, right? Those already right off the bat is 3 unbelievable ways to stay in front of somebody, right? Think about if you went to a location and you're familiar with the brand and now you're getting emails from them. Now you're getting SMS from them. You're seeing social media posts from them, right? Those are 3 channels that you're staying in front of them with higher likelihood of them returning, okay? When they're thinking of doing something on the weekend and, hey, what are we going to do this weekend? Or where can we bring the kids? Or what do you guys want to, where you want to go grab a beer, right? You should be top of mind and the first thing that pops into their head, okay? Bonus tip on the emails. If you do birthdays, that's a big sort of service pillar for you. I would do a birthday automation, right? Hopefully you can capture that data of when their birthdays are, when their child's birthday is, set up an automation when they have it, out 60, 90 days, they get an email. Hey, you got a birthday coming up, book a party, right? Hey, you got a birthday coming up, book a party, and have some sort of email automation that hopefully, pushes them further down the funnel to rebook or book in the first time. Okay. So that's a bonus tip for the emails. The fourth thing, inside sales. Okay. Hopefully a lot of you are getting leads and doing group events and field trips and stuff like that. You should have a salesperson that is keeping your CRM clean and following up those people every year, annually when they did the event last year, or, months before that, a few months before they did it, or before the anniversary is coming up. Reach out to them, say, hey, you threw, event at it last year. We'd love to work with you again. And here's the ways we can make it better. And just hopefully keep that relationship going even throughout the year. Send them emails about events and tips and whatever, right? Keep those leads going strong and those customers coming back by making them book their event with you again. All right. So that was number 4. Number 5, offer some sort of membership, right? Customer loyalty program. Now, some people look at memberships, they don't love them. I think if memberships can be done really well, where you are, every month you could be positive because your memberships are positive revenue, right? Because your memberships are so high, right? So, and all the rest is you're paying your operating expenses, and all the rest is going to be profit for the walk-ins, right? So memberships are a great way to have recurring revenue that you can really build the base on and really solidify your financials. Okay. So membership's great. And now the number one way, right, which I saved for last for a reason, because it's the most important one. It'll make all these other ones that I just mentioned even easier. Okay. Run a good operation. Your location should be clean. The staff is nice and, knowledgeable and kind and helpful. And, again, like I said, the place is clean. It's, you're running a good operation. Okay. If you're not, people are not going to come back. They're not going to tell other people about it. You're not going to get word of mouth marketing. And no matter how much you do these other strategies I just mentioned, you're not going to get them back, right? Because they didn't have a good time the first time. So again, to recap the 6 things, email, SMS marketing, retargeting, okay? Inside sales, offer a membership, and make sure you have a great location. So work on executing those things. And I think you guys are going to bring back a lot of repeat customers.
Well, I absolutely 100% agree with Chuck there at his last number 1 point. When I was a CEO of Hound, and we were building and sending promotions to get customers and visitors back in the door for family entertainment centers, location-based entertainment centers, etc. And I say we were, they still are. So Hound is still around. I'm just not there anymore. But anyway, when I was doing that, our main focus was, again, to get customers in the door. But it didn't really matter if our customers weren't running a really good operation. It doesn't matter how how good that promotion is, which medium you're going to target them on, email, social media, etc. If you're not running a good operation, if it's not clean, if your staff aren't friendly, people just are not going to come back in. So thank you, Chuck, for reiterating that. And absolutely love that. All right, now we've got joined Kevin Williams here for Open and Shut, and let's hop right into it.
Hey, a big hello from the UK and a big hello from Las Vegas.
Yeah, here at Amusement Expo live from the show floor. It just opened on the second day, so there'll be some traffic flowing here behind me. But yeah, let's dive into it, Kevin. What do we got for all the latest openings this time?
Well, so we've got the new format, and for those of you that want to pause the video, you can see all of the openings. But I'm going to pick on around 10 of the key openings that are worth mentioning. I'm not saying that the others aren't, but there's a lot to cram in, and there's just way too many to stretch this session out into. The first, interesting, our friends at Gender have pivoted into the poker sector. They've had poker environments in their spaces before, but they have now actually rethemed an acquisition that they've taken on board. Geigo Poker, where Texas Hold'em is playable. There's also a rest and a kind of competitive socializing environment. So this is an interesting departure. Geico has seen some real good numbers on their same site revenue, and Gender, their owners, have got some big announcements coming, which we hope to report on soon. Going through the other openings, Brandon, you were in Dubai recently, and you were at Little Lions venue, one of the Chaos Kart sites that is in Dubai. We're now led to believe that Little Lions has done a deal with Active Games facility out in Dubai, and they're dropping in their Puckman experience, which fundamentally uses the same projector setup, but in a smaller space playing the Puckman game. I'm interested that they didn't do a deal to have this also added to the Chaos Carts, but I think maybe there's some licensing and agreement deals there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a licensing thing. This strikes me as something that absolutely should be co-located with the Chaos Carts, or at least co-located with something. I mean, I think, as I mentioned when I visited Chaos Carts, the experience itself was a lot of fun, but it was only 20 minutes. And so you've driven all the way out there to do that. They had a few other little add-on attractions and like some air hockey and some stuff that was like trying to just fill the time. But this would at least make it feel like, okay, I did the Chaos Carts and I did some Pac-Man, and maybe I went and did another round of karting, and it would help to just drive up that time. It feels like these two things should be combined, or again, like if they shouldn't stand alone.
I agree. I think that they're missing an option there, but again, there is the machinations of how much they have to pay for the licensing and how they want to water down their karting experience against their core franchise here. Anyway, moving on. We talked about All You Need in a previous Open and Shut. The second site has now opened again in France, 50,000 square meters. So a very large facility, second in the chain. And we're really seeing a lot of activity in the competitive socializing, mixed-use leisure entertainment and VR scene in France at the moment. Jumping on, and in Paris again, we have Pan Shot Bar. No, it's not a place you go for shots, though I'm sure their cocktail bar does do that. This is a Clay's wannabe. So this is shotguns, simulator bays, shooting at the screen, highly themed bar environment with snacks. Interesting, now we're getting to the point where we're seeing copies or emulations of established brands. And that's kind of the signal when you're following a trend or a genre to start seeing that they start to compete with each other. Tells you, A, that it's a profitable sector because they can afford to compete with each other, but also that we're in for some turbulent time as companies vie for their particular version of an interpretation. But it was interesting to see Pan throw their hat into the ring.
Yeah, this is interesting. I mean, especially given the fact that it almost looks like, at least from the design aesthetic standpoint, a carbon copy of Clay's. It's pretty remarkable that they pulled it off. I'm not sure I like the promo image on the right. Just the guy in the middle looks a little bit psychotic, like he's going to take that gun and do something else with it. At least from this little image, maybe he's smiling and he's not like, kind of smiling like Joker would, from Batman. But yeah, it seems very similar. And it's amazing to me how quickly this Clay concept has been moving through the competitive socializing space, obviously with Play, with Pan, with some other just general simulator bays. And now you have Conductor coming out with their concept as well. And then a number of others, which I can't, they're escaping me, but a number of other brands we saw at EAG, products that were trying to offer a Clay shooting experience.
Simways was the company you're
grasping for. Thank you.
Yeah, we talk a little bit more about this in the sound off coming up. So, but it is interesting all the same to see this happening. And I don't think this will be the only one because, surprise, surprise, we have Ballers. Now, this is an interesting one. We actually do have a Ballers with a Z in the UK, which is a competitive socializing, but this is Australia, and we have Ballers. And this really is a mixture of electric shuffle with some bounce, the ping pong concept, all rolled into its own unique package and rolled out in Melbourne as a competitive socializing hub. where it isn't just the private hire area, it isn't just the game experience, it's the live music and the shuffleboard. They even have club darts. We couldn't actually define if their definition of club darts was AR darts or a competition league, a wired darts game experience. All with a very laid-back attitude. It will be interesting, obviously, to see how Ballers does. This is going to be the first of what, according to the information I have, is going to be a rollout of a number of sites. But I get the feeling that a lot of these new startups are all using that phraseology.
Yeah, this is exactly what we've been talking about, where we're finally seeing all these different competitive socializing attractions blending together into a single environment. And I think this is perfect. I mean, I can't say that their installation or their implementation of it is perfect. I just mean the fact that we're seeing these things come together because, again, maybe I want to play a game of darts with my friends and spend half an hour there, whatever. And then I want to do some shuffleboard or I want to do that. And I don't have to have a dedicated time playing a specific game over a 2-hour period of time. I can go and have different things, or I have friends that want to go play one thing and I'm going to play another. We get together for some drinks and whatever. Then we split up and mix again and go to do other things. So I think this is the future model of competitive socializing. At least I hope it is. My only thing here is that they have some branding to really work on. I think if they're going to have multiple different things, using a ping pong paddle for their Ballers name is a problem. And then also even inside their venue, they're using 2 different fonts, right? A different font for their logo, different font for the clubhouse, internal branding. So they do have some stuff to work through there, but it's good to at least see that they're beginning to combine these different attractions together in a single space.
As you say, it is proving what we've been shouting from the hilltops about mixed use, multiple entertainments here, and it will have maximum dwell time because not only are there the games, but there's live music performance capabilities to build off of as well. We're going to be keeping a close eye on this one, and we're sure that others will be too. Moving through the other new openings worth talking about, or able to be talked about because they have trends that we'd like to focus on. We're not criticizing the other openings at all.
I'm sure they're good in their own right. They're just not maybe leading certain trends we want to call out. So that's all right.
And if they want to come back and fight us to go back and talk about their new openings, I will gladly do that. But time is limited. Yes. So our friends at Sega Japan. We commented in the recent sound off about them partnering with a number of operations towards pushing their merch internationally. And then, surprise, surprise, we get the news that Sega is returning to the facility business, this time with what they're calling Sega Store, and opening in Shanghai, China to begin with. Talking about mixed up fonts, their renderings talk about it being a Sega Store pop-up, while their actual physical store is just a store. We're not sure if it's a pop-up or if it's going to be a permanent, but either way, this is very similar to what our friends at Bandai Namco have done with their cross store. It is a mixture of merchandising exclusive to the Sega, Tomy, and Mitsubishi brands, and they're alluding in the press announcement that they will have some specially handcrafted experiences working with Atlas, a friend of Sega. I am not sure if they're alluding to specialist amusement components or if they're going to have dedicated attractions, but this flagship opening in Shanghai will definitely be one to watch.
Yeah, this is, it's interesting. And you're right. I mean, even the Sega Fave on the left-hand side, I'm not sure where that locates. They do have some branding to work through, but at the end of the day, people, I think, for something like Sega, which already has this long, many decade legacy branding, people are less care. I think they can probably care a little bit less about how they're branding their store and more about what's in the store at this point. People are going to come regardless for Sega at least, so maybe that's why they just don't give as much of a shit. I don't know.
I think they're testing the waters in a very target-rich environment, which is China. They will nail it down. They will open a flagship store in Tokyo, I am sure, and then we will see world domination. I'm going to stick my head on the chopping block and take a bet with myself, I'm not going to throw this open, that I wouldn't be surprised to see a Sega store close to a cinema in the future. Moving through to the other openings worthy of a quick ponder, our friends at Racing Unleashed, we talked about them planning to open a latest addition to their Swiss racing section, but we knew that they would be opening a lounge rather than just a pure simulation. We've had the first renderings of that facility, and they are jumping on board the F1 arcade bandwagon, creating a site that borrows very heavily from the F1 arcade style of cocktails and cockpits. Interesting that this facility is actually using monocoque simulators rather than open cockpits, so they're going to have to learn the lesson that many women do not find jumping in and out of a monocoque cockpit as enjoyable as the blokes. But that said, 17 simulators within a 500 square meter facility with a very heavy private lounge and bar component. It'll be interesting to see how this one does in the mix of things. And then winding down on the openings, our friends at Home Run Dugout, we covered them in our IALPA Orlando coverage. They had a setup there. Their first facility in Texas has 22 bays all lined up, along with outdoor entertainment and F&B indoors. They've opened their second facility, and this one's an interesting one. Actually opened it in a ballpark. So the Bell Diamond in Round Rock, Texas, has added a home run dugout simulator setup. There are 2 simulation bays. There's a dedicated bar within their space. It is a drop-in entertainment. I also think that they've created this as a kind of a private hire component as well as a director's box approach. But it is nice to see that Home Run Dugout is building up the momentum, and they're even alluding to, in private, their third facility, which will be going into a resort location. I can't talk too much more about that, but it seems that the momentum is rolling for this sportstainment addition to the mix. Anyway, closing out.
Actually, just real quick on Home Run Dugout. I'm a fan. I love what these guys are doing for baseball, and again, like we talked about the accessibility of kind of socializing activities, and I think they have done it with regards to batting cages, and clearly people are, really liking it. And it's clear that the franchising model that they've tried to take, or at least the licensing model that they've attempted to take, is beginning to play out. My guess is this Bell Diamond is a franchise or licensed location, and probably not owned and operated by Home Run Dugout. So that's interesting. I wanted to just mention one comment on Racing Unleashed. While you were talking about Home Run Dugout, I was also doing some research. I just pulled up on their pricing, and I just find it fascinating, the pricing model. So they obviously have 15-minute, 30-minute races, but they actually go all the way up to a 60-minute ride time frame, which to me seems like a pretty intense, long period of time to sit there, especially in a competitive socializing environment. It seems to be much more of like an esports length of time versus than it would be like just hanging out and having fun with your friends, unless you're all racing for an hour together in some sort of group ride, which you can also book as well. But that just seems like
this is an operation that has a duality. They are foremost a esports racing simulation operation. Yeah. They're dipping a toe in the water of competitive socializing by creating this Racing Unleashed lounge, and I think they're keeping some of their older pricing models there just to appeal to their core audience.
Yeah, and it also just seems like it's a perfect for, if they're going the esports route, perfect for memberships packages. I know they do offer some of those, because for a 60-minute race, in conversion to US dollars, it's $100 per race. For 60 minutes, and look, that starts to get into some pretty pricey ranges for just spending an hour. Again, like I could drive to Disneyland, spend twice that much, and spend all day at Disneyland. So I don't know how much I'm going to enjoy that racing as a result.
Having followed the competitive the competitive racing side of the business, the coin.
No, to be fair, I haven't. Right? Yeah.
the coinage that some of these prosumers, and I use the word advisedly, are prepared to spend for their hobby is quite high. They have private rigs at home, they follow all of the racing, they practice well, and they enjoy themselves when they're together. It's part of the reason why racing simulation has had such a storied and long existence, long before the esports explosion has brought it even to a new generation. And I wouldn't be surprised in the next couple of years that we don't see race simulation or sim racing take on a brand new moniker as esports fades and competitive racing grows. But anyway, closing out with the shuts, and we have a bit of a surprise one here. Our friends at RMP Raceway, they had a New York facility. They're part of a chain of 5 facilities. And then this week, we all wake up to the news that they have permanently shuttered the New York facility, removed it from their webpage, and focused wholly on their current site without going into any details. The local media tried to reach out to the operators to get an understanding of why the sudden closure of the karting, bowling and amusement facility had taken place, especially in such a popular location. No information could be found. So at this point in time, we don't know why. Usually when something goes dark this quick, there's usually a contractual reason. But again, we don't know at this point in time. It is speculation. And as soon as we find out the reasoning behind this, if we ever do, then we'll be sure to share it. But anyway, that's the rundown from this week. Anything else to add, Brandon?
No, other than I like the RPM. I thought they did a great job, playing on the RPM, and then the race play more down below. I thought that was, clever. So anyway, too bad to hear that location shut down, but at least they have some other operating locations, and I'm sure they'll be back on their feet in no time.
They'll be back.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks, Kevin, for a great open and shut. See you around next one.
Have a fun one and a safe trip.
Intercard is the only cashless system designed, developed, and manufactured all under one roof. They introduced cashless technology to the amusement industry and have been leading the way for over 30 years. Cashless systems from Intercard increase customer spending, guest satisfaction, and boost revenues by up to 30%. Intercard is so proud to be serving the amusement industry, and if you aren't already part of their global family of customers, they hope you will become one soon. All right, well, just a last thing, I guess, before we head out, want to remind everybody to join the LBX Galaxy. You can scan this QR code here or go to the LBX or go to lbxgalaxy.com to join our online community and get access and lots of information to get access and connect with other people in our industry. And also we have Sound Off 67 with Kevin Williams. So that is coming out this Tuesday, March 25th, number 67. That is insane. But otherwise, that is a wrap. Again, this is Brandon Wiley signing off. Stay tuned and keep kicking ass.